decided to make a series about words, symbols in general, or what is called semiology or semiotics. Some would say I am obsessed with the topic. I hope I'm not overly preoccupied with it at the expense of everything else. But the reason I return in many of my videos and my posts on Know Thyself Forum to the topic of words is because of the central role words play in expressing human ideas, human feelings, sensations, which is an integral part of philosophy, of thinking, of perceiving the world, of understanding the world. And the second reason, the most important one, is because of the central role words play in nihilism, or what I call, what I use the word modernity to describe the recent, the most current manifestation of nihilistic thinking, of which began in Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism. Actually, I should put Judaism first because that's the mother of both of the two that follow. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, later to evolve into humanism, Marxism, and all the other modern isms. So to differentiate, of course, between nihilistic isms and realistic isms, words, understanding what words are, the role they play in human cognition, what they are, what they symbolize, how they relate to the mind-body dichotomy, is a starting point. Without doing this, we're trapped in this linguistic confusion of using words haphazardly in whatever manner we choose, we feel like using them, simply adhering to dictionary definitions for the only reason that it facilitates communication. Otherwise, we would be talking gibberish, and that's the only reason some people limit or accept a limitation to words. In the past, limitations to what people thought and how they used words was given to them by the group, later by the religion. This is where nihilism comes in, which shaped the way we use words today. The secular limitation, the one that moderns can only accept, is the dictionary, like I said, and for no other reason but because their ideas can be shared, can be understood, can be communicated, can be transmitted to another mind. For a realist, of course, the only limiting standard to words would be the world itself, because words refer to the world. We'll get to this later. So it's the world which puts a limit, the order found in the world, because order is a limitation of possibility. I equate order to probability. Order would be a limitation to possibility. The opposite would be chaos, which is infinite possibility. And if you think about it, even an organism, what is a fundamental part of what we call organism is that it limits the possible, what is possible to it, for it. It is discriminating. It denies possibility in order to preserve the ones that benefit the organization, the hierarchy, which it calls self. So ordering is a limitation of possibility. And in philosophy, the only restriction to words would be in relation to the world. But nihilists, moderns, do not accept this limitation. The only limitation they accept is a social one or a scriptural one. So either they accept a limitation given to them by others, by culture, by religion, by some institution, by the other human beings, or the only limitation they accept for the purpose of remaining comprehensible to others is the limitation of the dictionary definition. In both cases, it's the script that limits them. It's a man-made reason why they limit, not the world itself. The world is excluded from their understanding. They will not accept any limitations which is determined in past, which is not pliable, which is not cannot be intervened upon by humans. And this is why the only limitations, like I said, they accept are from the either biblical script, religious script, scripture, or dictionary definitions. Because the basic strength of nihilism, the only reason it even has meaning, is that it can be communicated to others, to other humans, to others who share the same code, the same meanings, the same words. Other than that, outside those premises, the nihilism is dead. It's meaningless. Some of the words they use, if you put them in the world, if they were to be applied in the world, outside human constructs, would either be useless or it would actually be detrimental to the individual who applied them. This is why all nihilists, when faced with the world, always lie, must always contradict their own principles, their own ideas, their own ideals, in order to survive. So they go to nihilism to protect themselves from a world that they cannot understand or is threatening to them, but they have to contradict it when the world challenges them, when they're not protected by the social system, when there's not an intervening institution to shelter them from their own detachment from the world, from their own delusions. This is why nihilism always has to contradict its own premises. So when Christianity speaks of love, then it must kill infidels. Or when a modern says that appearances don't matter, then he or she contradicts this statement by actually only choosing a mate based on looks, or beginning by the evaluation of other using looks. Many such examples of how nihilists say one thing and then act in a way contrary to it. And there's many reasons for this, which I will not get into right now. For now, I want to stay on the idea that nihilism uses words to place a noetic wall. Like if you want to an image of it, we can use it an image from pop culture, from the movie Matrix. So in the movie Matrix, you see this code tumbling down, right? Numbers, letters, creating this wall, this artificial cocoon within which the Matrix constructs the artificial reality. And that's exactly what's happening in the mind. In nihilism, the words become this code, this abstraction, this noetic wall between them and the world of phenomena. And they need this to feel safe, to detach from the world. For the sake of clarity, I will tell you that I already made a video on nihilism, specifically about nihilism. And this whole topic on words is related to another series I made, which I call The War Like No Other. Now, in relation to nihilism, I have to, again, for the sake of clarity, differentiate two types of nihilism: the male, masculine, and the feminine. I'm not just arbitrarily defining them this way. There's a psychological reason, which I will try to explain later on. You can also understand it as positive masculine nihilism and negative feminine nihilism. The the positive nihilism, which is what we're going to be dealing with in relation to words, is the one that constructs or literally understands words as absolutes. So when the world is void of meaning, let's say God or purpose, they produce this purpose meaning, which they then claim is universal, and they offer it to the masses, to the many, as a fulfillment, a filling in for what is missing, which is the absolute. And now, this is very seductive to the masses because they cannot deal with the world without this external to them source of strength, of meaning, of purpose, because they can't pull it. They can't pull it out of themselves. They can't find meaning, purpose, justification for doing anything within themselves. They can't feel pride, ego, honor. They can't discipline themselves. They can't be good towards others, kind towards others, without this authority, without this threat, this ideal that's external to them. This is a very powerful motivation, and that's why masculine, external, fabricated, positive nihilism dominates today, and that is exactly what I call modern or modernity. It explains everything we experience in our everyday life, in our urban settings. Most of us living in urban settings. So without this external source of order, most minds awakening to their own condition would go mad. This is why this is so important topic. This is why it dominates. This is why we are now talking about it. Because they can't find order in themselves, they seek it externally. They imagine it as pre-existing them, and they assume that it's out there waiting to be discovered, waiting to save them from themselves, from their predicament, from their condition, the human condition. And of course, words symbolizing these absolutes, I will explain why later on, becomes so crucial, so important. This is why now in philosophy, words dominate as political instruments, not as tools of engaging world, but as toys or ploys for playing, to becoming cynical, remaining cynical, or as ploys to seduce, to manipulate, to create a following. Because again, nihilism without others agreeing, without participating in their common shared delusion, is meaningless. It has no application outside human minds. So of course it needs other human minds to become participants, to reinforce whatever constructs they create to preserve themselves, to comfort themselves. So they need others. That's the basic thing about nihilism. It needs other minds to participate, to be included. That's why it measures itself in quantities, in the amount of people who agree. So they have no other standard but that popularity. They cannot find another standard in the world because the world frightens them. They shy away from it. They reject it. They, like a vampire to garlic, they recoil when they come in contact with it. This is a survival mechanism for them. So you can't reason with this. You can only expose it for those that can understand and have a chance of understanding. So for most of them, this is not meant for for the majority. I know some of these ideas will not be something they will even humor or consider seriously. They will probably laugh it away, as always happens. But that's not my problem. I don't care about that. In the modern system, of course, they're protected because stupidity is protected in the human artificial systems based on nihilism. They, as you all know, stupidity is protected from itself in our modern world. So it doesn't matter how stupid, how many mistakes you make, how many errors in judgment you make. There's always a law, an institution, a rule that prevents others from exploiting this, or that prevents you from suffering the full breadth, the full consequences of your own mistakes. And of course, what this does is it reinforces stupidity. It begins thinking, since I made a mistake, or I think this and it didn't really cost me much, why is my perspective any less relevant than the others? They have no other way of measuring uh, their, of justifying, measuring what is truth, more truth, less true, than from how it relates to others. And being protected from the world, which doesn't give a shit about human constructs, they become arrogant. They become self-assured. They begin to question words. They become questioning the world. They say it doesn't really matter what you think, since there's no real big cost to any thought, with a system there to protect people from their own thinking.